Bam Margera. What will he do next?
I'm gonna present him the dick on my butt.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Well, maybe not exactly mighty, but definitely fallen. So anyone who is a skater or a fan of MTV in the early 2000s is definitely familiar with Bam Margera, at least in passing. And if your familiarity with skateboarding overlapped with watching MTV, then Bam Margera was probably one of the biggest names in skating, second only to Tony Hawk. But from the soaring heights of CKY, Jackass, and Viva La Bam, to the crippling lows of his god-awful movies, also Viva La Bam, shady business practices, Dr. Phil, and his annual Instagram mental breakdowns, Bam has certainly had a very interesting career. And today I'm going to attempt to break down this one question. What the hell happened? If I'm being honest, this video could have probably been made at any point since 2019 or so. Hell, one of the reasons I've waited so long to do this, despite having planned this for well over a year and a half by this point, is just see what else he does and try to compile as much as I can into one video so I only have to do this once. But with Jackass 4 finally being released this year, I guess I've put this off for long enough, so let's milk the fleeting relevance of this topic and exploit the public self-destruction of a once-beloved public figure for internet points. Hail Satan!
Why are we still here?
So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on biography. If you're watching this, you know who Bam Margera is, and if you're that interested in his early life, go read Wikipedia. Instead, let's focus on his career, the highlights, and the walking, talking liability that he has now become. I'm not really sure how to structure this, if I'm being honest, so I guess I'll just start from the beginning. Hey ho, let's go. Beginning as a way to self-promote and gain more exposure for his skateboarding, a 19-year-old Bam Margera first really came into prominence in the 90s after filming himself and his friends skateboarding, performing stunts and sketches. In March of 1999, these clips were originally released as Land Speed Presents CKY. This was the first video in the CKY series, which would really lay the foundation of Jackass. These movies were hugely successful. There were 4 released in total between 1999 and 2002, with over 400,000 copies being sold, and CKY being played in pretty much every skate shop that existed around that time. Now, this was some truly groundbreaking shit. I may be wrong, but to my knowledge, this was like the first real time that the skateboarding lifestyle and culture had reached like this level of mainstream exposure that the CKY movies did. Mind you, this was before like Pro Skater and the rest of the Tony Hawk franchise had exploded onto the scene. And I personally loved the CKY movies. It was a real treat to be able to go back in time and rewatch a lot of those while I was doing research for this video. A lot of that stuff on CKY was better than anything Jackass could have come up with. My personal favorite of which was when the crew are all in Iceland and Brandon DiCamillo rubbed shit in the face of a sleeping Ryan Dunn, who later returned the favor by pissing in a sleeping DiCamillo's mouth. I can't show this for multiple obvious reasons, but trust me, it's great. Now, this is the part where I talk about the first and one of the best major impacts that Bam had on mainstream culture. The music. If there's one thing that is synonymous with early 2000s skate culture, it's the awesome fucking tunes. And Bam was an absolute trailblazer in this regard. CKY was legendary for their soundtrack, introducing multiple bands to either a more mainstream or in just a general American audience. Bands like Rammstein, Dimmu Borgir, Gigi Allen, Believer, and of course, him and CKY. CKY drummer and Bam's older brother Jess Margera has publicly stated multiple times that CKY basically owes their career to Bam and the success of these movies. And the proof is in the pudding, especially if you happen to have ever heard this song.
Du hast mich.
Or this one.
I'm your Christ and I want you. This world's up for us, you know it as well as I do.
And of course... And as I'm sure everyone watching knows, CKY put Bam and his crew on the radar of a pair of reputable gentlemen in California named Jeff Tremaine and Johnny Knoxville, and a project they were working on called Jackass. So what happens when you combine CKY with Big Brother? Why, you get arguably the greatest thing MTV has ever produced. And I do include Rock of Love on that list. Intended to be a televised version of the Big Brother tapes where Knoxville would do various stunts, most notably testing self-defense weapons on himself, Tremaine and Knoxville were blown away by the CKY tapes and contacted Margera to ask if they could use some of the footage in the sizzle reel that they were working on as a way to pitch the show to networks, and if Bam would be willing to be a part of the show. Jackass began production on April 12th, 2000, and I'm really disappointed that they didn't wait 8 more days. Premiering on October 1st of 2001, the show went on to shatter MTV's records, drawing nearly 2.5 million viewers to its second episode. Yeah, talk about lightning in a bottle. There's not a single network on TV today that wouldn't kill for those numbers. But I'm not really going to do an in-depth analysis of the show itself, mostly because this isn't a video about Knoxville. But if you are interested, I'd highly recommend a video series by Intrigue Academy on the subject. I'll link it down below if I remember. This show was the epitome of an overnight sensation, with Johnny Knoxville being on the cover of Rolling Stone a few months later, and Bam immediately being skyrocketed to the second most famous skater on the planet, second only to Birdman. Also himself becoming a playable character in a little game franchise you may have heard of called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. But as is often the case, it wasn't all rainbows and nut shots. Everyone's familiar with the borderline satanic panic levels of parental fucking freakouts that happened over Jackass. Despite all the efforts of MTV and Jackass to dissuade copycats, idiots will be idiots, and the show came under extreme scrutiny after a teenager was hospitalized with third-degree burns trying to imitate a stunt from the show. Following this incident, Senator Joe Lieberman began a campaign against Jackass, demanding MTV and their parental company Viacom take more responsibility to protect the children. Seasons change, shitty parents stay the same. Due to Lieberman's continued war with Jackass, MTV began to exercise more control and restrictions on the show, including canceling all showings of episodes before 10 p.m. and even refusing to run later episodes. Naturally, this enraged the Jackass crew. Viewing the network's actions as caving to the censors, Knoxville quit the show in the middle of season 3, and the rest of the cast soon followed, bringing the show to an abrupt end. So what do you do when you have a demand with no supply? Why, you do spin-offs, of course! Steve-O and Chris Pontius took the doing insane shit with animals and other respectable homoerotic activities with Wild Boys, and Bam took the skating and generally being an asshole to everyone direction with Viva La Bam. After Jackass ended, Bam and the rest of his old CKY crew returned to Westchester to unleash their shenanigans and torment on Bam's family and the good people of his local township. So the series was arguably more of a CKY sequel than a Jackass spin-off. So, confession time, dear viewer. I've only ever seen about half to 2/3 of this series, and probably only the first season of that was in order. I had season 1 on DVD, but other than that, I was basically at the mercy of late night MTV and what was able to avoid the copyright police on YouTube to watch the rest. So maybe 2.5 seasons. I tried to find a way to watch the rest of this series for this video, but crumbs balls, this shit is impossible to find. Plus, there's really only so many times I can watch a grown man act like a 13-year-old and be a douchebag to everybody. Basically, this show was Jackass with a bigger budget and a more structured episode format.
It was crazy, man. Our budget was like $300,000 to spend on each episode of just fucking shit up.
How do you spend
like $300,000 a week?
How do you spend $300,000 fucking shit up? Can you?
The ideas that I would come up with were so bonkers that I would be like, they're never gonna approve of this, and they would approve of it every time.
But again, let's take a look at the good and the bad of what influences this show had. The good. Again, number 1 would have to be the music. This show was personally how I discovered him, as well as bands like Daniel Lioneye, Bloodhound Gang, Clutch, and Turbo Negro. I mean, as well as Narkill and Cradle of Filth, but hey, they can't all be winners, nobody bats 1,000. This show also got Slayer, Children of Bodom, and Dimmu Borgir mainstream TV play in the US in the year of our Lemmy 2004. Another great part of this show was getting to see the entire CKY crew back together again. The chemistry between these guys is amazing, and some of the best moments of Viva La Bam came from some of the more obscure members of the cast, such as Chris Rabb, Rake Yan, and Tim Glom. This show also introduced us to recurring characters Brandon Novak and Compton Ass Terry. At least one of those names becomes very important later on. Some of the episode concepts were also pretty rad as well, especially since I was in my early teen years when I first started watching this, and a lot of these episodes were pretty out there, especially the episodes where Bam and company spent 24 hours on 3 Mile Island, where they painted the whole house blue, and where they party like it's 1899 and turn the Castle Bam grounds into a Civil War reenactment. All of these were absolutely fantastic and should be preserved in the Library of Congress. Now, the bad. Jazz hands. Well, there's quite a few things that could fill this category, but I feel that most of these could be summed up under the umbrella of Bam being a total cock to everybody. To demonstrate this, I'm going to play just a quick montage of Bam and Phil Margera. Now, I want you to watch this and think if you would ever allow your child to do this for even a second, no matter how rich and famous he was.
Come on, man. I gotta go to work. Jerk off. Stop it. Come on, I gotta go to hell to work one time. You stop it. Stop it. Hey, you hit me in the nuts.
Is that him with Muhammad Ali? Muhammad Ali was a boxer.
Right, they were free.
Now what, ass?
I don't know.
Now what?
Caught me off guard here. Let me have a seat. That's ridiculous. Dude. Come on, man. You know my shoulder's sore. Just stop. It's enough. Boo? Did you just call me? How come you hung up? Stop, Bam. I'm on the phone. Stop it! I'm gonna have to kick the camera out of his hand. How's he like that? Buy my camera! Woohoo! How you doing?
Look at this. I did this fish hook thing. It's my new deal with Phil. Say something about Elvis.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Now, allegedly during this time, Bam was basically just surviving exclusively on booze and coke a la Johnny Cash, but still this level of assholery gets really old really fast. Especially when I was rewatching this as an adult, and some of this stuff was actually kind of uncomfortable watching. And I can't believe I actually just said that, but hey, whatever. This might just be me, but the next check in the bad column would be everyone's favorite professional fat guy and convicted child predator, Don Vito. While some of his antics are quite enjoyable, like getting banned from the Playboy Mansion for trying to grab a titty, or collecting a full bingo card of Vegas L's, Vito's stick as the dumb fat guy also gets really old and lazy really quickly, at least for me.
What are you doing? Why are you pushing me?
What are you wearing?
Excuse me, sir. Can you please step away from the...
No, it's just in there. I'm telling you to do that. Vito, stay with me. Where's the captain's chair? Where's the cup holder?
You don't get a fucking
You
chair.
get captain's chair.
You're a lousy captain. You don't get one.
The captain always has a chair. You don't hear captain.
Well, you're a lousy captain. You don't deserve one.
I'm the
yet.
best
You gotta
captain
earn
ever.
it.
We didn't even go out.
Vito, tell them we're gonna rave till dawn.
We're gonna stay out till dawn. We got lots of kegs coming.
We're gonna rave till dawn.
Rave till dawn? What's raving mean?
Tell them, rave till dawn.
We're gonna rave till dawn. Lots of kegs. Hey,
Viva La Bam ran for 5 seasons between October of 2003 and August of 2005. And a few months later, Bam confirmed that the show was ending, but that he and Knoxville could possibly be revisiting working together. This is called foreshadowing.
If you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. When you get knocked down, you gotta get back up.
So we're gonna have to jump back in time a little to the first Jackass movie. Intended to just be an outright conclusion of the TV series, the first Jackass movie was released in 2002 as a way to avoid the MTV censors. And despite critics hating it, Jackass the movie was a huge success, making $60 million and reaching #1 at the box office. Years go by, critics being completely out of touch stays the same. Jeff Tremaine has gone on record saying that the inception for the idea of a Jackass reunion came when Knoxville traveled with Steve-O and Chris Pontius for the final season of Wild Boy. I assume this idea was also spurred along by the popularity of the Prank War episode of Viva La Bam.
It is. But you're still gonna pay back. This Hummer's better now. Now let's not act ugly.
Oh, John, welcome to fucking Westchester, brother. We're having a party in here.
You are the fucking last person I want to see in my
We
bed.
don't fire up. Well, come in here. It's a good party.
But either way, with both spin-offs ending, the entire cast was now suddenly available to reunite. My personal favorite of the Jackass movies, #2, was released in 2006, again topping the box office and becoming a smash hit. This is the movie where, according to Steve-O, everybody showed up ready to die.
The feeling is that the best Jackass movie was #2. Just because we were in our heyday, we were so reckless, everything was working, we got away with everything.
Jackass 2 is ready to die. Everyone is ready to die, willing to die. It's the gnarliest one.
Right.
And that's definitely an accurate assessment, as well as probably the reason why this movie was so great. 3 years after #2, Knoxville and Margera began teasing that something new in the Jackass pipeline could be coming. A year later, in October 2010, that something exploded onto the big screen in the form of Jackass 3D. Again, becoming a massive success, earning $50 million at the box office and breaking the record for the biggest fall opening at the time. Now, I'll discuss this movie and the drama surrounding it in a little bit. But, short version, Jackass Forever was released in theaters on February 4th, 2022 after a decade-long hiatus and 2 years of delays due to the China virus. And it was pretty good. It was a great nostalgia trip, and I actually belly laughed at a few points. Definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. #NotSponsored. And this is related because Bam actually is in one scene. You'd never notice if you weren't looking, but he is actually in that movie. So, going to see it wasn't me wasting time, it was research. Suck it. And so in this next section, we're going to talk specifically about 2 of Bam's movies other than Jackass. Haggard and Minghags. I have no fucking idea if that's pronunciation, but I don't really care. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. They're both pretty objectively bad movies, but one is significantly worse. So Haggard is basically an extended hymn music video with skateboarding clips, including recycled CKY footage, wrapped in a pretty typical, if albeit cringy, teen drama that was apparently based on Dunn's real-life ex-girlfriend and actually led to a lawsuit.
Because I remember when that was a lawsuit and it was an issue. It was like...
When she sued me, she just had a kid, and, you know, I figured, you know, 40 grand could go towards the kid, whatever. Maybe she'd buy a minivan or something. Guess what she bought? Tits!
That story was like, dude, there was a mix of everybody. Like, you thought about, like, oh, shit, of an ex-girlfriend of mine, an ex-girlfriend of yours, an ex-girlfriend of Ryan's. All that was all kind of put into one.
Yeah.
And then it became, oh, well, it's all about me. It's like, well, you were so slutty, you don't even know what you did.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, that story goes, and you know.
It's defamation of character. But wait a minute. Your character was you cheated on Dunn numerous times.
Yeah.
So that is your character.
Yeah.
It's not a defamation of character. You're a slut.
With a B story that comes straight out of a C-tier, straight-to-video sci-fi movie. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. It's an at least semi-enjoyable way to spend 90 minutes. Now, I hadn't seen this movie for years before making this, so I'd forgotten how much of a fucking trip this movie is.
Long story, you probably don't want to hear about it.
No, probably not.
It's a nice tattoo you got. What does that mean?
It means desire.
Desire, huh?
What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean you're into dudes with fucking long hair, smell like beer, have shitty tattoos? Maybe they hang out at the bowling alley. Maybe, just maybe, you'll go out back, rub their sick crotch, he'll stick his hands on your pants. Meanwhile, your boyfriend's sitting at home jerking off the fucking gay porn.
Love is a flame that can be tamed.
It does also feature one of the greatest thought patrolling lines ever put to film.
What were you saying?
The other night at dinner when you said we could work everything out, you know, the wallet, it all made sense to me. I think that we can.
No.
What do you mean no? You said you'd do anything for me the other night.
I think I was drunk and rather stupid, so just get over it. Fuck off.
Me fuck off.
Fuck off!
Fuck you!
Plus, you get to see the hot chick from Viva La Bam's tits, as well as Ryan Dunn beating off to his own ass. Now, Ming Hags is a whole different story. This movie is fucking awful in a way that is very difficult to describe. Although we do get to see the beginning of Tonka Saw's budding acting career.
They know!
Shut the hell up.
I still don't know what this movie is supposed to be about, but you do get to see Brandon DiCamillo playing 4 different characters, and he does it hilariously. As well as we get to see the return of Compton-ass Terry from Viva La Bam.
What is going on? Please, like I haven't seen diamonds before. You don't have to show them in that clothes. Now let me tell you something.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate considering where he is now.
Straight out of Compton! Straight out of Compton! Straight out of Compton!
Point is, Haggard was semi-enjoyable. Ming Hags was certainly not. Both are on YouTube. Check them out if you want, or if you don't believe how awful that Ming Hags actually is. Now, let's talk about Bam's less successful TV show, Bam's Unholy Union. This show ran, thankfully, for only 1 season in 2007 and followed Bam and his first wife, Missy, leading up to their wedding and the actual ceremony. Now, I've never actually seen this show. I have, however, seen some clips that have been able to avoid the copyright police on YouTube, and just based off of these clips, I can see why it only ran for 1 season. Allegedly, MTV wanted a 2nd season that would follow Missy being pregnant, but that never actually happened. And that's probably for the best. Basically, this show was pretty painful to watch for research for this video. And part of it was just because most of the old CKY crew had either had their own falling outs with Bam, or just stepped away from the public spotlight by this point. There was, however, one bright side of this show, and that was getting to see Iggy Pop performing at the wedding. As well as getting to see Brandon DiCamillo spit some sick fucking bars about how you could tell he was really pissed off about Bam basically abandoning him.
You are whip, 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 whip. Yes, Bam Margera's whipped his girl, gave him her kiss, and now he's got a clip, and she goes, where's his dick? She pulls his pants down. He's got a big old stinky snatch. Yeah, Missy said yes. She's never getting it back. I can't remember the last time that we had fun. You're always driving around with pocketbooks and verses for everyone, but not me. No, I don't have fun because your girlfriend took on my place. Now your face is always bitty. her busy place, yes. Now give me your hand and I'll start. Oh, that's just a fart. I'll shake your hand right off like you shook your friends and they're all the way. Now you only have a girlfriend that smells like tuna fish and you have to hang out with her all day. Yeah, it stinks so bad, but I want to play. Dye your hair up like I want to see you hanging out. Remember you used to drive a Cadillac? Not anymore, now you're hot shot. Oh, God, that stinks. Let me hold your nose, because we ain't friends, yeah. The pussy is big, yeah. It stinks, it stinks, it stinks. Yeah, you used to be. Oh, yeah. She used to be my friend, and now you're off to be a groom. So come inside your Mercedes and make it smell like a men's room. Oh, yeah, stink, 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 stink. Oh, stink, 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 stink. Oh, wanna get a manicure on my finger? Wanna get a manicure on my finger? Come on, I used to hang out with you and we had so much fun and we always go over to your place. Yes, yes. Now your car stinks like the place that used to be across the street from where we used to live. But now it doesn't stink like that anymore because you're about to have some kids. Sure, you make fun of your brother for not having so much fun. But I fought in your face and shit came on. Yeah, and I'm number one. Yeah. Now watch out. Now drive your car and act real fucking cool. Now pick out a pocketbook and pantyhose and then take your kids to school. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it was good. You don't even make out with your girlfriend. I don't even know what you should. Yes, I do. I've never seen you do anything. You guys must be like Ken dolls. No pussy, no balls, no dick, no nothing. It's just smooth down below. Let's go to your brother's house and steal his arcade games.
Bam has done a few other movies, such as Bam Margera Presents Where the Fuck is Santa? But since I haven't seen them and have zero intention of seeing them, we're just going to move very much onwards. So this is probably the stuff that everyone watching this wants to hear about. I'll be honest, this is the reason why I even made this video in the first place. So strap in and let's just try to dig into this shitstorm. So this whole crazy story begins in 2018 when Bam was sent to rehab following a DUI arrest, but later that year relapsed after getting robbed while on vacation in South America. I have no idea why you would go to South America as a very famous white guy and not expect to get robbed, but...
Right. It's just sad to blame it on, like, oh, I got robbed, so I had to have a drink.
It's justified, yeah.
Like, in our little sober world,
yeah,
we call that the philosophy of somebody who has a headache, so they hit themselves in the head with a hammer. So they can't really, it's just now you got two problems.
Right. And
now you got robbed and now you're back in the drinking.
And you fell off the wagon.
Right. And, it's like, it's sad because when Bam was in rehab, I was able to have like a real talk with them, and it's just a simple question. It's just how many times you want to go around the loop, feeling like, oh no, I got it, I can control it, but then you can't, and then you go around the loop and you go around the loop, and it becomes like years and years just slipping through your fingers,
right.
Now, going back in time on the internet, the real meltdown appears to begin early to mid 2019 with Bam going to rehab again, but checking out early claiming that he didn't belong there. Just remember that little bit right there. He made a really lengthy Instagram post about it, but it has been since deleted. Also, get ready to hear that sentence a lot. But the post that he made around that time about his new alphabet remains. I'm going to put a picture of it up on screen somewhere here. Get used to seeing this because he has posted everything in this language since. I think he calls it something like lesbian stromboli. Around this time, he also began making posts about being abandoned by a longtime friend, Brandon Novak. Shortly after his departure from rehab, he also began making a series of posts insulting his current wife, Nikki. Another thing to get used to hearing about that, and destroying his house, leading to Margera actually being sent to a mental facility for a week. So in early to mid 2019, Bam began having a full-fledged public meltdown on his Instagram. He would post long video tirades against his mother, his wife, Novak, and as well as blaming the township for ruining his career and life by forcing MTV out and passing a ruling that he couldn't film on the Castle Bam property, even threatening a lawsuit that, as far as I can see, has gone nowhere. It was during these videos that he began publicly begging for help from Dr. Phil.
So anybody who says, Bam needs help, Bam needs mental help, he does need help. Yeah, I do. It says, I need Dr. fucking Phil. He's the only one that can help. He's the only one I agree with. Every time I watch him, I totally agree with him. He's the motherfucking man. If it's anybody else, you're a hee-haw head. Even if you're a doctor, you don't know shit.
Sidebar, if you're actually asking Dr. fucking Phil for help, seriously, without it being a joke, you probably need to be institutionalized.
I've seen 28 doctors, and they all tell me something different. But I watch you, and I'm like, Dr. Phil is always right. If I agree with him on everything, and he's never gone wrong, I need Dr. Phil. And if he's telling me that I'm doing something wrong, I'll obey.
Well, I'm not always right, but
to me,
yeah, definitely should be institutionalized. Following this public spectacle of mental breakdowns, dysfunctional relationships, and spousal abuse, Bam went quiet for a while, seemingly to get treatment and mend his relationships. Fast forward to 2021. We were at the height of the Coof panic, the fallout of a presidential election that was definitely legitimate, and it had finally been confirmed that Jackass 4 was in the works. And that last one in part because of Bam returning to his old ways. In early 2021, Bam said in an interview that Paramount considered him a liability and that Jeff Tremaine had to fight to keep him in the movie. 1 month later, Bam announced that he'd relapsed and had been fired from Jackass 4. Most of the posts he made during the next couple months were deleted shortly after being posted, but here's some of the ones that I was able to archive. Just to please Jeff in Knoxville, Bam goes away to get off drugs and alcohol, prescribed by Dr. something. To obey Jackass's contract or else obey Dr. Paramount, Dr. a bunch of other people. Adderall plus martini equals rehab 90 days with dollar signs. Make Bam pay $800 for weekly therapist 1 year. I might be off alcohol now, but now I'm on 18 fucking drugs. Sober link 3 times a day or else. All through COVID, I had all of these at one point. Just please Jackass, we narrowed it down to 7. I was forced to take on film each day. Then he names just a shitload of drugs, which, side effects, dizziness, fatigue, stiff muscles, muscle spasms, hair loss and gray, erectile dysfunction, more depression, suicide, Vivitrol in the ass for alcoholism, but Dr. Knoxville took these 2 away, the ones I thought helped. I was way better off on my Adderall and my sipping drinks compared to this noise, then it's all of the side effects. What's the point of obeying this contract if it's making me a zombie who can't skate or fuck his wife and leading to suicide? What's the point? Answer A, Bam disobeys his contract so we don't have to pay him $5 million, or Bam is dead by contract by Dick House. What the fuck? Then something I can't read because he wrote it in black marker over an arrow that he colored in almost entirely black anyway. That's not how the color contrast works. So for nearly 2 years before COVID, I was forced by Dick House to breathe 3 times a day into a sober link in the comfort of my own home for a year as we wait for Hollywood COVID ban to end. And random piss test 1 or 2 times a week. I would have to stop everything I'm doing and go to the nearest urgent care. Pay for all rehab, doctors, therapists, medication specialists at Bam's expense, which he has labeled betrayal, abandonment, and rape and robbery. That's what those words mean. Tell Bam he's not in the movie. Why? Because he took an Adderall and got so scared he flew to a $30,000 rehab in Florida. Fuck you fucking fucks. So I don't know about you, but that definitely seems like the manifesto of a sane person. Then we got this one. Oh no, guys, Bam's at it again. He's writing down his thoughts. He must be wasted. How about frustrated? Bam needs serious help, but yes, I do from my lawyers. Now he's then scribbles because it's way faster for something to read and write from spending 90 days in rehab bored to tears. Just a side note about this alphabet. It has just as many characters as English, and they're all way more complicated. So I call bullshit on him being able to read this faster and easier. I'm Bam, and this is the Train of Flesh. Bam stunt that was too jackass for jackass. Location, Dick House. Office idea, go to Dick House, then bend over, get fucked up the ass. Here we go, with Bam's Bogus Agreement Part 1. Well, let's just say I showed up on set for Jackass and when I was drunk or fucked up. I get it, fire me, I would deserve that. But to send me home for a year waiting for COVID to end for a year, blowing 3 times a day in a sober link at noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m., followed by a random piss test at urgent care, followed by an $800 therapy session, forced by Paramount, once a week at my expense, and swallowing a bunch of pills on FaceTime so I can become a suicidal zombie. I never blew alcohol on the sober link, but let's just say I had a Coors Light in the comfort of my own home. Who fucking cares? That right there is kind of an admission that you did violate the contract that said you weren't going to drink. And we'll get to that in a second. Let's just say I took a prescribed Adderall in the comfort of my own home. Who cares? I can obviously see now, plain as day, that this contract was set up to fuck me in the asshole. Why? I don't know. What made me a liability? Being drunk on TMZ? So what? Throwing a bottle at my Range Rover windshield? So what? Being on Dr. Phil with a family issue? So what? You were clearly very much a liability. Johnny Knoxville is handsome and brave, but if we had to fight, I could knock him out in one punch without a doubt. I would actually pay money to see that. Jeff Tremaine, are you too fat to kill 1 calorie and sign a waiver that, I guess that's supposed to say, that something knock you out in one punch, no questions asked, or are you such a fat greedy pussy who is way too scared to sign here? Stop being a pussy and sign a fatso. Suck it, boner boy. Your contract you made me sign was a fucking joke to rip me off. So, in May of 2021, Jeff Tremaine filed a restraining order against Margera for his repeated harassment and alleged death threats against Tremaine and his family. The restraining order was granted and extended to include Tremaine's wife and kids for 3 years. A few months later, Bam filed a lawsuit against Tremaine, Knoxville, Spike Jones, Paramount, and Dick House for wrongful termination. Last I looked, this case is ongoing, so we'll have to just see how it turns out, but I doubt it'll go anywhere. But hey, I'm no lawyer. That's Nick Rackett's job. So after all of this shit and a very long silence on social media, during which it appeared that Bam was under a guardianship as part of his treatment, according to Steve-O and Brandon Novak.
He's in a program, and the good thing is now is he's got he's under a conservatorship, you know, and
it's not a conservatorship, it's a guardianship.
Oh, really?
Bam has started posting again. And at least as of recording this, it appears that Bam has actually been making a recovery, making posts about his recovery process, and actually appears to have started skating again. So, honestly, here's hoping he sticks to it and can stay sober. Now, this video turned out to be way more depressing than I thought it was going to be. You know, it's honestly kind of shitty to see somebody who you used to look up to become just such a fucking public embarrassment at this point. I was a skateboarder as a teenager, and Bam was like the punk rock version of Tony Hawk, essentially. He was like the edgy counterculture guy who dressed like me, talked like me, listened to the same kind of music I did. There's a good chance that pretty much whatever you're into, Bam invented at least a part of it. Including, you know, all of the shitty prank YouTube channels that have been trying to copy Jackass and Viva La Bam for the last 20 years. So thanks for that, MTV. Even though as much as an embarrassment as he's become now, it wouldn't be fair to deny the influence that he has had. So like I said, it looks like he's actually starting to recover. Hopefully he can actually stick with it this time. Who knows, maybe 5th time's the charm. That's all I got for you guys today. Take it easy, keep it sleazy. Thank you, fuck you, bye.
Mr. Misanthropic, go fuck yourself.